Hello, folks. It's King John again. Or King Cyrus, or whatever. I'm here again to make another video, and it's just currently on my thoughts about the whole. I would say the um, situation in Latin America at the moment, because it appears the U.S. I don't know what's happening here, but there seems to be a group of people that want to essentially pull another more bullshit in Latin America. I mean, where does it cease to stop at this point? Haiti and whatnot. But from the situation that I've gathered, um, I will say this: we got to stop mincing words of what is the main priority objective of why the U.S. is in these regions. All right, we got to stop playing this game. I mean, first off, this sort of delusion of we're doing about human rights and fair elections. Listen, that's not the objective. All right. We got to stop mincing words about the objective of what's happening. All right. The fact of the matter is, there are people who seem to want to do coups in these countries for one particular reason, because they are either being resource extraction, as it always been, or because we got these companies like Nestle and Kraft. The list goes on of these food companies, especially because when it comes to Latin America and coups, you'll be surprised how a lot of this is tied to food, especially food production. Um, Look at companies like Coca-Cola. I mean, a good example I always have is Haiti, where you know Pepsi and Jovenel, the president who was assassinated before, was planning on letting Pepsi come in and build more sugar farms. Um, in terms of that situation, this is what they do. That is the goal. That is the objective. Now, I haven't heard anything about Chile. Thank goodness. There hasn't been any news about Chile since the sort of revolting of the previous government that was there. The news media was pretty biased in the U.S. They kept saying, "Oh, because tax hikes, tax hikes." They try to make this thing about right wing tax increase obsessions, which is not really you know. So that's not really the concern. But that's what they were trying to make it as in terms of like U.S. media, from what I could tell. But for the takes of Nicaragua and the Sandinista, Sandinistas and whatnot, or Ortega. Not to say Ortega isn't perfect, but the reality is they've been trying to want to get rid of that organization for a very long time, especially in the U.S. They've been wanting to get rid of the FSLN whole party body for a while now. This is a new information. So the information that I'm noticing that's coming out of there is pretty muddy. I'm gonna look more into it, but from what I could tell, there does seem to be a bizarre attempt. Now, from what I heard, it appears that Gray Zone is getting involved. I don't take Gray Zone that seriously. Again, my whole thing with Gray Zone is, in this situation, a broken clock is right once in a while. That's my approach to Gray Zone at the moment in terms of their reporting. Because their reporting on Venezuela was a bit odd because they made it look like there was no economic crisis in Venezuela, which is just kind of dishonest. I mean, there is. They try to make it look like there wasn't. It was a bit absurd. You could still defend Venezuela without denying the reality of what's happening there. I mean, you can do that. But gray zone is gray zone. But the fact of the matter is, this is the objective of these U.S. interferences in Latin America. It's to establish more free market avenues for them that seems more beneficial to these companies, especially these food companies, Coca-Cola, Pepsi, the sugar stuff. A lot of that comes from these places, guys. Um, Sugar that we get, all that, a lot of it comes from Latin America. So, and Haiti and the Caribbean. So the fact of the matter is, that's the whole point. And I think food is a big connection to why a lot of coups in Latin America has happened. For obvious reasons. There are other resources too, like with Bolivia, you had the lithium. And Elon Musk made that ridiculous comment about, oh, we can finally go in and get all the lithium. So this is the objective, folks. This is the reality of what we're dealing with in Latin America, and we have to accept that. I'm tired of this dancing around bullshit that some media folks do about Latin America, where it's like, it's more so like, of course they're gonna do that, but the thing is, it's like they always do this sort of like concern trolling, where they come in and be like, oh, well, there's the tax hikes, and well, the Sandinistas, they're bordering on like an authoritarian government, and it's like, where do I see this? Because I don't see it. I don't see what they're talking about. And it's interesting because the language of Nicaragua right now is reminding me of what happened in Bolivia. In terms of the only difference is Ortega's sort of he's sort of a mixed bag compared to Evo Morales, who was a very popular person, and they just basically try to coup on him. So with Ortega, things are more complicated. But from what I can see, it does seem like the U.S. is trying to basically hedge their bets on something in Nicaragua. And it wouldn't surprise me if they tried to. I mean, in Haiti, we already know what's happening. I mean, I can talk about Haiti every time, where Dmitry Volv and those guys over there in Haiti, the elites that basically run you know. And there's a theory out there that Jovenel was probably murdered because um, he was going to essentially abandon these guys who haven't been really doing anything in terms of the electrical grid in Haiti. They've just been providing electricity to the rich, while the poor always get these on and off electrical shutdowns, opens, and shutdowns. And Dmitry Vov and these other guys were in charge of that. And Jovenel probably was like, you know what? Maybe at that moment, even though he was a neoliberal shill, he realized, maybe I do have to go outside a different avenue. And he started talking to Turkey when it came to construction. He started ignoring these other Haitian construction companies that were pretty much owned by these sort of wealthy mulatto-esque elites who basically were in charge, right? And Jovenel said, I'm going to work around it, and he spoke to Turkey about construction, and I believe he started talking to somewhere else, I believe, about electrical implementation to change the Haitian power grid. Because, in Haiti, there's these frequent blackouts. And it's possible that that's what got him likely killed, was because of that whole situation. It wasn't because, I don't believe it's because people feared that he was, and plus, Moise did something kind of dumb, which was almost try to extend his power, which is like, with Haiti, it's complicated with Jovenel Moise. He shouldn't have been assassinated the way he was assassinated, but Jovenel Moise is also a very, very complicated figure in that sense. And you have the Haitian gangs, who many people I believe, are being funded by I think they're being funded by the elites in Haiti, particularly like the mulatto elite. I think they are funding them to cause havoc in order to get basically get what they want from the government that they want, to keep the established order there, where they don't pay any taxes, because the wealthy in Haiti don't pay no taxes. I know, shocker, they don't pay any taxes. So that's the situation we're dealing with here. And I do Haiti because there's a connection, because Latin America, it's an entire thing. It's an entire project of the U.S. particularly. And I keep telling people, the Monroe Doctrine didn't die. It's just been reaffirmed differently. And we got to we got to have solidarity with these countries as best as possible to prevent that. Because the same thing with Cuba. I'll give you an example of Cuba. Why the hell do these guys want to get rid of the current government in Cuba? I always tell them, this is my thing I always tell them. So Coca-Cola and Pepsi could come in there and build more plantation farms. That's what's going to fucking happen. And I'm tired of these sort of liberals who have this sort of human rights hard on. And it's just like, dude, you're talking about human rights. I get it. But do you know what's going to happen in Cuba when the government is gone? You're going to get neoliberal people coming in. Pepsi and Coca-Cola are going to take over the plantation fields and the sugarcane production. They're going to take over. And you're going to have more favorable neoliberal policies to take resources from Cuba. That is the plan. That's what's going to happen. Let's stop dancing around this idea that this is not going to happen. I'm getting annoyed with it, and I'm losing my patience when people keep trying to bring up democracy, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, no, that's flowery bullshit for the real bullshit that's actually behind the scenes. You guys, in my view, are just basically doing sophistry to the actual goal that you guys actually want to do. It's sophistry. That's what you're doing. You're saying, well, it's all about this and that and that. But the reality is, now we just want to take resources from the country, and we want to basically seize on the sugar cane and the sugar production. That's what you guys want to do. Let's stop acting like that's not what you guys want to do. Especially Nicaragua, Haiti, these countries. Haiti's a different story for other reasons. But especially, Nicaragua or these other Latin American countries that are rich in these resources. That's the plan. So we got to stop playing games with this. We have to stop playing games with this shit. I mean, I'm getting to the point where I see people try to do propaganda online, and I'm like, don't have time. Bye. I just don't have time for it. Because I know, first off, you're shilling for these people. And in my view, you're basically shilling for the neoliberal establishment to come in and basically do privatization of the land. Privatization of those territories. Because that's exactly what is going to happen. Don't act surprised when Pepsi and Coca-Cola are already talking about going down there. That's all I got to say.